The story begins with a boy named Akagami Akimitsu. From the tender age of 5, he cherished the words of wisdom passed down by his father. His father's advice was to never walk the path of loneliness and to understand the value of having many girls by his side rather than one. The young boy would gaze upon his father with awe as he spoke, but little did he comprehend the profound meaning behind his father's words. A black car arrived and his father started to leave. Curious, the boy asked his father about his destination. With a proud smile, his father declared that he was on a mission to spread happiness among all the women in the world. The boy was entranced, inspired by his father's grand vision, and encouraged him to pursue this noble journey. Years passed, and Akimitsu grew into a man. One day, he woke up from a dream filled with enchanting girls, making him late for his class. Despite his youthful dreams, he remained a bit introverted, often hiding behind a book while reading, which made people misunderstand him as mentally troubled. At school, his friends would invite him to join their activities, but he hesitated, consumed by his father's teachings. He adamantly believed he should shun any romantic involvement to restore his family's reputation tarnished by his father's past actions. His determination led him to focus solely on academics and work at a store. The store's manager, knowing the importance of youthful romance, subtly encouraged him to date, drawing parallels to his father's past. However, this stirred anger within Akimitsu as he wanted to distance himself from his father's legacy. One day, while reminiscing about his childhood admiration for his father, a mysterious bag of rice descended from the sky, accidentally knocking him off balance and leaving him speechless and disoriented. A girl, feeling responsible for the mishap, approached him to apologize, but he remained in shock and silence. Akimitsu found himself in a peculiar situation as he gazed at the girl. Concerned for his well-being, she thought he was hurt and called for an ambulance. But in an unexpected turn, he abruptly fled, asserting he was fine and didn't require medical attention. Her attempts to stop him were in vain. He was overcome with nervousness and frustration. He felt upset that this encounter had shattered his steadfast rule of avoiding girls forever. The night was filled with his frustrated screams due to this incident. Yet, there was more to his turmoil. He couldn't shake off the impact of the girl he had met by chance. The next day, his friends witnessed an unusual sight, him engrossed in watching a girls' sports match, a departure from his usual behavior. They invited him to an acquaintance party, to which he surprisingly agreed. From then on, his life transformed. He frequented clubs with his friends, thoughts of girls consuming his mind. His job let him go due to his frequent absences, and studies took a backseat due to his fear of failing. A phone call from his friends about another party led to an abrupt outburst, as he believed the Akagami family curse had plagued him. Determined to break free from negativity, he sought his monk uncle's guidance, even adopting monk attire for a renewed mindset. He ventured to a temple with determination, seeking to eradicate negativity from his life. As he knocked on the temple door, a surprising twist occurred. The same girl from the street appeared. Baffled by her presence in a temple, he closed the door on her, leading to her frustration. She burst in and prepared herself respectfully, causing his stress to mount. He even began to question her reality, wondering if she was a creation of his mind. However, she reintroduced herself as Ayaba Izuki. His attempts to escape continued, leading to a fall and a tree collision. Concerned, she approached him, only to witness something that deeply unsettled him. Overwhelmed, he declared his love for her and even proposed marriage, which startled her. Upon entering the temple, Ayaba served him tea, and he realized it didn't resemble a traditional temple setting. He was supposed to meet the high priest for an entry exam, yet she revealed he was absent, and she anticipated Akimitsu's arrival the next day. As she inquired about his interest, he perceived this as a test, fearing he had already failed due to his previous actions. He tried to explain he was striving to overcome worldly desires. Seeking privacy, he asked to use the bathroom, and while making his way there, he marveled at the temple garden's beauty. His attention was captured by a cat's cries from a well. Attempting a rescue, he inadvertently ended up in the well himself, while the cat managed to escape easily. In the meantime, Ayaba was having a conversation with her sister at work, explaining that the expected visitor for the next day had arrived unexpectedly that day. However, her stress wasn't solely about the early arrival, it was the fact that this visitor had proposed marriage, putting her in a perplexing situation. But her sister explained that the young man she was discussing was present right next to her, adding to her bewilderment. Her sister Tsukuro came home and Ayaba shared her dilemma, referring to the young man as a ghost. Tsukuro misunderstood at first, assuming her sister was jesting. Just then, the very person they were talking about, Akimitsu, approached them, requesting help in a rather intimidating manner. Their fear intensified, leading to screams and even Tsukuro fainting in terror. Ayaba wanted to escape the situation, but Tsukuro was incapacitated. As Akimitsu continued his desperate plea for an ambulance, the girls were convinced he was a malevolent spirit. Frustrated, he clarified that he was just a human seeking assistance. Another girl arrived, carrying the cat from the earlier well incident, and she too lost consciousness. Akimitsu managed to prevent her from falling. Elsewhere, a group of girls engaged in discussions on religion and life, interrupted by strange noises outside. Investigating, a girl named Mia encountered Akimitsu, leading to her scream. Kaguro, finding the situation amusing, chuckled at their reactions. The girls retreated in fear of the perceived ghost. Tsukujo pondered why Akimitsu was specifically pursuing Ayaba, who then declared she would confront him to ascertain if he is real. In a swift karate move, she punched him, causing him to black out momentarily, all the while murmuring that she was quite demanding. Upon regaining consciousness, Akimitsu found himself surrounded by the girls. Kiki, one of them, was intrigued by his character. Ayaba realized the misunderstanding was a result of her uncle's involvement and sincerely apologized for her actions. He realized the truth about the location, a school for training nuns. Akimitsu was stunned, as he had been inadvertently sent here by his uncle. Kiki offered a solution, a temporary training period to become a priest within this unexpected setting. The sisters weren't too happy about this decision since the place was meant for girls and letting a random young man in felt odd. However, Kiki saw an upside. Akimitsu could do the cleaning chores for free. The others weren't too keen on the idea. Mia unsheathed her sword, ready to attack, but Kagura intervened. Tsuko voiced her skepticism about his respectability, and Hiki devised a peculiar test that ended up leaving him wounded. Frustrated and bleeding, Akimitsu contemplated leaving the temple to avoid further issues. Before his departure, he made it clear that he wouldn't forget his first encounter with Ayaba. Sadly, the timing wasn't in his favor as public transport had ceased for the night. He found himself stuck and ended up deciding to spend the night at a bus station, unsure of his next move after leaving the temple. In his moments of misery, Ayaba unexpectedly appeared, offering him a solution. She suggested he return to the temple, where there were empty rooms he could stay in for the night. Apologizing again, he explained that the marriage talk was meant as a lighthearted jest. Shyly, he revealed his name as Akagami Akimitsu, and she reintroduced herself as well. Together, they returned to the temple. However, a surprising twist awaited. It turned out that Akimitsu belonged to the Akagami family. The girls were furious when they find out about it, as his father had borrowed 20 million from the temple and vanished without a trace. Now, they expected Akimitsu to repay that sum with his own body. Confused and shocked, he was left to grapple with the perplexing implications of this bizarre solution proposed by the girls. Once everyone realized that Akagami would be working tirelessly at the temple for an extended period, things settled back into their usual routine. The girls, however, started teasing Ayaba about her earlier comment. To put an end to the chatter, Ayaba sliced a rock in front of her in half, effectively silencing everyone. Then, she informed Akagami that she would give him a tour of the temple to familiarize him with its surroundings. He eagerly agreed, his excitement evident through his gleaming eyes. Ayaba led him to a statue within the temple, but his enthusiasm waned when he noticed the statue was merely held together by adhesive tape. Disheartened, Ayaba shared that the temple was struggling financially. Filled with a sense of responsibility, Akagami promised to work diligently to repay his father's debts. Ayaba admired his determination, expressing her gratitude and even holding his hand. Unbeknownst to them, the other girls were eavesdropping behind the door. Observing Akagami and Ayaba's compatibility, they huddled together to devise a plan. Their goal was to remove Akagami from the temple permanently by ensnaring him in a trap that would lead to his expulsion. Kiki interrupted their conversation with a suggestion: seduction. The girls then embarked on the task of selecting the most attractive girl for this endeavor. Kiki explained that the most alluring girl should take on this role, and Tsukuyo's name was quickly brought up as the perfect candidate. Tsukuyo initially hesitated due to worries about her reputation, but eventually, she consented to the plan. With everyone backing the idea, she saw no alternative. Driven by her strong desire to get rid of Akagami, she received ample encouragement. The next day, at the early hour of 5 a.m., Akagami was roused from slumber by his fervent aspiration to become a priest. Bursting with enthusiasm, he sprang out of bed like a superhero, swiftly tidying up his surroundings. His journey continued to the kitchen, where he expertly sliced vegetables like a seasoned chef. In the midst of his culinary efforts, Yuzuki greeted him, clad in pajamas. Taken aback, Akagami's distraction led to burned food. Yuzuki left, leaving him disheartened and frustrated. As he observed him, Tsukuyo plotted a trap, seeking a way to confound him. Once the cooking was complete, he summoned all the girls to the breakfast table. Tsukuyo anticipated an opportunity to criticize his culinary skills and thus expel him, but her hopes were dashed as the food turned out delicious. Akagami showcased his culinary prowess, leaving Tsukuyo devastated, yearning for more of his delectable dishes. In the guise of training, Tsukuyo instructed him to don thin clothing, anticipating his discomfort due to the cold. To her surprise, he bore it without flinching. He meticulously completed cleaning tasks, even tending to places like bathrooms, graves, and roses, leaving everything gleaming. When Tsukuyo brought him to a computer to review the temple's financial data, she expected him to falter. However, Akagami proved adept, identifying and rectifying errors beyond her comprehension. Frustrated, she led him outside, dousing him with water from a giant pipe. Though the training was meant to be under a waterfall, there was none available. Unfazed, Akagami embraced the task, meditating under the cold water. Yuzuki's unexpected arrival from school caught sight of the peculiar scene. Seeing her in her school uniform stirred something within Akagami, erasing the cold and discomfort he had felt moments ago. This experience felt like enlightenment, his pain dissolving in the warmth of the moment. Meanwhile, Tsukuyo's hope to break him had dimmed. Even Kiki noticed her disappointment and suggested that there was only one remaining option to expel Akagami from the temple. With the plan they had previously discussed, they were prepared to put it into action. After a day of hard work, Akagami sought relief from fatigue with a shower. Unexpectedly, Tsukuyo appeared, leaving him bewildered. Amidst the confusion, some objects fell towards Tsukuyo, but Akagami intervened and saved her from harm. He asked her if she is okay, but another box fell and he kissed her accidentally. But at that moment Yuzuki arrived, misinterpreting the scene, and demanded his immediate departure due to her misjudgment and frustration. As a result, he left. The girls rejoiced, believing their plan was successful, and Tsukuyo received praise for her execution. However, she felt remorse for expelling an innocent man over a trivial matter. Seeking forgiveness, she approached her sister, Yuzuki, who initially ignored her. Tsukuyo persistently pursued her until Yuzuki finally spoke. Yuzuki confessed her reasons for ignoring Tsukuyo, as her presence reminded her of the bathroom memory, where she had seized Akagami's thing. It turned out Yuzuki had known about the girl's plan all along, with Kiki revealing it to her. Tsukuyo apologized, realizing a male presence in a female-centric temple wasn't ideal. Yuzuki shared she thought if her mom was here she would have done the same. Yuzuki asked Tsukuyo to explain everything to Akagami. Kiki arrived with surprising news. Akagami had already packed his belongings and left the temple. The sisters, aside from Yuzuki, were taken aback by this revelation. Though they had initially wanted him gone, his sudden departure left them shocked. Now we see Akagami, who is feeling guilty, so he decided to head to the police station to turn himself in. Sharing the story with the officer, he was unceremoniously dismissed and urged not to return. Perplexed, he returned home, only to discover his things had been thrown into the river by the new tenant. Homeless, he sought refuge in an abandoned location, pondering his predicament. Reflecting on his situation, he considered the temple and its inhabitants. He admired Yuzuki's strength but suddenly remembered her seeing in pajamas. He talked to himself, saying that he had achieved enlightenment, but he still found himself stuck in these negative thoughts and worldly desire. Lost in thought, Akagami pondered his inability to repay the substantial debt of over 20 million yen. Surprisingly, Yuzuki appeared before him, questioning his departure from the temple. Misunderstanding her previous instruction, he believed she wanted him to leave altogether. Yuzuki clarified her intent was for him to exit the bathroom, not the temple. She emphasized problem-solving through communication, stressing the importance of not living in isolation and alluding to the first rule of achieving enlightenment. Curious, Yuzuki asked Akagami's age, reminding him to address her with respect due to her seniority. She continued that as an adult, he should rely on others more, leading Akagami to realize Yuzuki's unique way of thinking. Tsukuyo then approached, apologizing for ensnaring him in a pointless scheme. He reciprocated the apology and received a bill from her, with the amount having increased due to the earlier events. Returning to the temple, Mia's disapproval led to her fainting. Tsukuyo and Yuzuki sought refuge in a hot bath due to the rain. While Kyorig's, Yuzuki and Tsukuyo's sister, and Akagami remained in the kitchen, he offered to prepare dinner before the girls emerged. Kyorig's joined him, and in their conversation, Akagami expressed a desire to learn more about Yuzuki's life. However, Kyorig's misunderstood his intent, believing he wanted to know everything about her. Kyorig's playfully insisted that learning negative things wasn't necessarily bad, leaving Akagami astonished. She then encouraged him to interact with Yuzuki and Tsukuyo. Her unpredictable nature made him wary. Kyorig's quickly clarified her statements were jokes to amuse herself and unsettle him, not to be taken seriously. Kyorig's acknowledged that her sisters acted foolishly since Akagami's arrival, expressing her love for their playful demeanor. She appreciated the effect he had on her sisters and was glad he had returned to the temple. She approached the bathroom door, but Akagami rushed to stop her. However, she moved away, allowing him to open the door, which led to the girl's stern reprimand. Amidst the confusion, Mia criticized the corruption she perceived in the temple due to Akagami's presence. The situation's outcome remained uncertain. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel Annie Explainer.